What people watching at home need to know is that while working class Americans are being threatened with losing their health care, Trump and the members of his family are cashing in big time on these crypto scams. Trump has made millions, if not billions of dollars on these crypto scams. Now, 40% of his wealth is in cryptocurrency, all basically built up since he won back the White House. And he's basically put a for sale sign in front of the White House. So if you are a foreign government that wants to influence Trump and his family, just slip some money in Trump's pocket. If you are a tax cheat that wants a pardon from Trump, just slip some crypto money in Trump's pocket. But if you're a veteran that needs access to healthcare, or you're a kid that can't afford school lunch, then you get nothing. This is another example of billionaires.
It has been difficult to find moments of hope during Donald Trump's administration, but we do see glimmers here and there, few and far between, when Donald Trump loses in court, when he loses support in Congress, and of course, when his MAGA Republicans go back to their districts and get booed in town halls. And we saw one of those very delicious and satisfying moments just yesterday, when not only was a MAGA Republican booed, but as the crowd was turning on him, he decided to turn on his cult leader. Yes, calling out Donald Trump and his lies. And it has Donald Trump panicking this Republican, completely abandoning him, because it could spell doom for his big, beautiful bill. We're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, it goes a long way. And it really does mean a lot to me. Now, before we can get into this very shocking moment with a MAGA Republican, we need a bit of context on why he was so upset. And that's Donald Trump's attack on the courts right here.
Report right now on the core rights and liberty protections the Trump administration has been both attacking and very brazenly testing in the highest courts in the land. The push begins with Trump's mass deportation agenda, the people being hauled on and off planes and sent to various parts and corners of the world, but it doesn't necessarily stop there. This has actually drawn a string of losses in federal courts, rebukes from multiple judges, orders to bring back, sometimes wrongly, deported individuals. There's been the Supreme Court losses in the early rounds. You're probably familiar with some of that, but as Donald Trump keeps pushing, we now have this standoff between him and the courts, as the Wall Street Journal reports. And this is the current baseline. And these clashes already go beyond even the tense standoffs over foreign detainee rules during the war on terror. We're past where we were then under Trump in the second term. And the president's challenge is to the law and the Constitution in a way that could go even farther than those clashes. Indeed, Trump's number 2 official in the White House, Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, has asserted, he says, the administration is mulling ways to suspend the core, long-standing liberty right against unlawful or unlimited government detention powers that they claim they're already looking at how to suspend habeas corpus.
The Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at. Look, a lot of it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not.
That's their stance. They're, quote, actively looking at it, and then he adds a kind of a bluster toward the courts. Be careful, if you don't do the, quote, right thing, which means agree with Trump on just about everything, maybe they'll suspend this right. Now, in our special report right now, I want to be very clear about this baseline. In any era in American history, claims to suspend that core right of the Constitution are a huge deal. That Latin phrase, habeas corpus, is one of the most important and vital rights that people have in their dealings with the government. The founders were clear that that right would operate in the Constitution, so no politician and no Congress can repeal it, and it would operate to limit government powers against the people. That is the baseline. And while, yes, there are times where you might have an actual emergent world war, that would also be enumerated. You can't just suspend the right because you don't like dissent or you have a different immigration. It will only be done, suspended in the case of wartime invasion or emergency public safety. That's what it says in the Constitution. It means something good. It means most presidents have never even gone near suspending it or even talking about how they could. That's even after, obviously.
It has been very clear from the beginning of Donald Trump's administration that the institution that our criminal president would be going after first would be the judiciary. A man who promised to be a dictator on day one surely was not going to hold back from attacking the courts. And Donald Trump he's tried to seize power. He's ignored them blatantly. Even though the Supreme Court, with many justices he himself appointed, continues to strike him down. He doesn't seem to care. And they wanted to take that a step further, giving Donald Trump essentially the ability to completely ignore courts and his big, beautiful bill. But Republicans are not happy about it. Yes, Republican cultists to Donald Trump. And we saw that in which Nebraska Representative Mike Flood spoke out at his town hall. And we can see that right here. Town hall erupts at GOP Reps Confession about Trump's beautiful bill. A Republican congressman faced intense backlash from his constituents after admitting in a town hall that he hadn't actually read crucial parts of Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. I'm not going to hide the truth. This provision was unknown to me when I first voted for that rep. Mike Flood said, in response to an audience member's question about proposed measures that would make it easier for the U.S. government to defy courts. The issue of court orders was not the only bone of contention between Flood and the audience during Tuesday's town hall in Seward, Nebraska, with other attendees grilling him on everything from prospective Medicaid cuts to changes in the way the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program is administered. And we can see all of that. And which rep, Mike Flood, was challenged in this clip right here.
Can you please tell us why you voted to approve a budget bill that includes Section 70302, which effectively prohibits federal courts from enforcing contempt orders? Please let me read my question. I only got 30 seconds. Which would then allow current and future administrations to ignore those contempt orders by removing the enforcement capabilities.
I do not agree with that section that was added to that bill. This provision was unknown to me when I voted for the bill.
Okay, next question. Next question.
I am not going to hide the truth.
So that article that we checked out before seeing the clip described Flood as admitting that he hadn't read the provision. Now, I don't want to give any Republican member of Congress any credit, but the whole purpose of the big, beautiful bill was that it was so big. It was so long that you could not possibly have gotten through it all before it was time to vote on it. That was the point, was to make it impossible to read and then to vote on it in the dead of night, or I guess technically morning, so that the media wouldn't cover it. That's how bad the bill is. Admittedly, from Republicans, they know how bad it is, and now that they've actually gotten the chance to go through it, they realize, should you have been voting on something you didn't read of? Of course not, like obviously, but this is the current state of things. What is so important is that we are now seeing a little bit of that stress that Republicans in the House feel being passed on to the Senate. Well, there are already several Republicans who have made it very clear they're not voting for this thing. And that spells real trouble for Donald Trump and his billionaire friends, that they try to extort our government to make themselves richer, which is exactly what Greg Kazar was calling out in this takedown right here.
Elon Musk and Donald Trump are in total agreement that they want to have this bill give billionaires a tax break. They're in total agreement that they want this bill to have a $25 billion contract for Trump's, quote, Golden Dome, where Elon Musk is the front runner to get those $25 billion. It seems the area of disagreement is whether they want to kick 10 or 15 or 20 million Americans off their health care. What people at home need to know is that we don't need to give billionaires a penny. We don't need to kick anyone off their health care, and we don't need to give Elon Musk another sweetheart contract. So we should be fighting to block this bill, period. and not be distracted by Elon Musk and Donald Trump having little disagreements about how many Americans they want to let die just so that they can get themselves a sweetheart contract or a tax cut. What people watching at home need to know is that while working class Americans are being threatened with losing their health care, Trump and the members of his family are cashing in big time on these crypto scams. Trump has made millions, if not billions of dollars on these crypto scams. Now, 40% of his wealth is in cryptocurrency, all basically built up since he won back the White House. And he's basically put a for sale sign in front of the White House. So if you are a foreign government that wants to influence Trump and his family, just slip some money in Trump's pocket. If you are a tax cheat that wants a pardon from Trump, just slip some crypto money in Trump's pocket. But if you're a veteran that needs access to healthcare, or you're a kid that can't afford school lunch, then you get nothing. This is another example of billionaires get everything under Trump and working class people get screwed. This could be the biggest corruption scandal in American history, and they're out there in Las Vegas bragging about it. It is so blatant.
Of course, Donald Trump's agenda is ultimately and always about enriching himself, his family, his friends, and his rich buddies. That is what it always comes down to. It is corrupt, and that should be no surprise, because we know who Donald Trump is, but we also got to keep calling him out. We're going to be doing it on this show, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.